Get ready for a wild ride with Balaam, the prophet who thought he could outsmart God. With a reputation for being able to curse or bless with a single word, Balaam was the go-to guy for ancient kings seeking supernatural advantage. But when God spoke through a donkey, Balaam's life was forever changed. Join us as we dive into the fascinating story of Balaam, a man who learned the hard way that God's plans can't be thwarted. Hit that subscribe button for more thought-provoking videos on the Bible, and share this video with your friends and family to spark important conversations about faith, free will, and the sovereignty of God. Let's explore the intriguing story of Balaam together. Before we dive into the personhood of Balaam, we have to set up the historical context. The Moabites, descendants of an incestuous offspring of Lot, Abraham's nephew, Genesis 19:37, didn't like that the Israelites were lurking a little too close to their lands during the Exodus. Balak, their king, knew how Israel had handled another one of their enemies, the Amorites, descendants of Canaan and fierce warriors. Fearing for his kingdom, Balak summons a Balaam, a prophet, to come and curse the Israelites' people. Balaam apparently can't curse the Israelites without receiving the Lord's permission first. Whether this is reminiscent of Satan having to receive God's permission before he can afflict Job, or for some other reason, he needs the go-ahead from God first. Not surprisingly, God does not allow him to curse the people he has blessed. Despite all of this, the Moabite king sent more officials who claimed Balaam would earn prizes of silver if they accompanied him to the king to curse Israel. Balaam saddles his donkey and heads to Moab because God told him, "Go with them, but do only what I tell you." God sends an angel to divert Balaam's path on the road to Moab. Balaam can't see it, but apparently his donkey can. It keeps veering off the path, so its owner keeps beating it. After the third beating, the donkey turns to him and speaks, asking why Balaam keeps beating him. God opened Balaam's eyes and he saw the angel in the road, a sword drawn. Then Balaam repents. The angel tells him to continue to Moab, but instead of a curse, God tells him to say a blessing. It seems from this point that Balaam had turned to God and refused to curse those whom God has blessed. But as we see in the next chapter, even a prophet can put on a false face and make it seem like he'd repented. Although Balaam could not say anything without God's permission, he figured out a way to curse Israel indirectly in Numbers 25. Through coaxing the Moabite women to sleep with the Israelite men, they began to lead Israel astray as they worshipped other gods. Like Solomon's wives who had encouraged him to go after idols, these women convinced the Israelites to worship Baal, an infamous god in the Old Testament. Anyone who worships this god in this chapter receives the death penalty, 24,000 in all. So what can we learn from the story of Balaam? This may seem like one of the more obscure stories in the Old Testament, but we can apply a great deal of it to our lives today. 1. Not everyone who speaks words of truth or blessing is from God. You can find threads of the gospel in secular writings, such as Plato's analogy of the cave. That passage has remarkable hints of the gospel, but it was written by someone who never knew God. Balaam spoke more than one blessing over Israel, but that didn't mean he belonged to God. 2. People can repent and still live without Christ. It seems in the story that Balaam sees the error of his ways. He even admits out loud that he sinned. When he goes to bless Israel, it seems as though he made the turn for the better. But in the very next chapter, he enacts a plan that wipes out 24,000 Israelites. 3. The love of money can cause us to do terrible things. Although not spoken explicitly in the Numbers passage, Jude 1:11 hints he introduced the Moabite women to Israel for financial gain. Maybe Balak would see Balaam find a way to curse them without words, and he would be rewarded handsomely. Overall, we can learn that God can work through anyone, even those who don't belong to him. But we have to be wary of the wolves in sheep's clothing. Someone who blesses you who does not know the Lord may curse you in the next breath.